Welcome back to Coffee Time News, the segment where I give you all the updated news and what's going on in the world. Before we get started, please make sure that you follow all of our listening platforms, whether it's Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, everything like that. Make sure that you tune into our actual Coffee Time podcast, which shows up every Thursday with myself and captions. And let's just get into it. What is going on in the world today? Of course, all the recounts are still being done. Recently, Trump finally did a recount for Wisconsin, so we're waiting for those numbers right now. The deadline for all these recounts to be done is December 2nd, so during that time frame, all the recounts or all the stuff that's supposed to be happening will stop. The Electoral College will get together December 14th to certify all the election votes, and we go from there. Now, I talked about this in the previous news coverage that I did to where how things were going to happen. So I don't really want to focus on that during this time frame. What I want to focus on is a lot of people are asking, okay, well, where are the Trump supporters at? They've been awfully quiet. Like, no one's been speaking out, which, of course, is not a lie. It's just the media won't cover it. During the Million MAGA March that happened in Washington a couple of weeks back, Facebook actually made it to where you could not live stream during that time frame. A lot of protesters and organizers out there were trying to live stream the event, but were unable to. So it's another indication of how social media does suppress some stuff that is actually being documented or said. So where are we? The question is, well, we're here. We're just waiting patiently. Like I've been saying in these podcasts, patience is a virtue. But we've been waiting patiently because we're wanting to really choose the time to speak up and everything like that. So it's kind of a silent war right now. But the other thing is another group of people have actually vanished. And it took me until today to figure out what was going on. And what I'm talking about is what happened to all these social justice warriors that were so infringed on, or they were so oppressed? Where have they been? I haven't heard anything about any social justice reforms, speak their names, justice for this person. I haven't heard it in a while, which is really weird. And I noticed this around election time, that all these celebrities that were saying justice for such and such, or, hey, we're oppressed and this and that, all of a sudden it stopped after election night. And I wonder why that is. Is it because they realize, oh, we've been screaming, moaning, and complaining about us being wronged, but now that we think we have our way, we're just going to stop? Is that what's happened? I think it's what's happened. I mean, I haven't seen anything from Black Lives Matter. I haven't seen anything from the anti-Trump people. I haven't seen anything about, oh, justice for this person. I haven't seen it in a while. I wonder why. Is it because y'all were never really victims in the first place? That y'all were just crying wolf and saying, oh, poor me, until you got your way, or you think you got your way? Because guess what? The election still isn't over. A lot of people on the other side, because I've come out to be a Trump supporter to the people around me, whether it's friends, family, or coworkers, or whatever. And they all tell me, they're like, so what now that Trump lost? Or, are you going to do this since Trump lost, yada, yada. And I'm like, whoa. Slow it down a bit. Trump hasn't lost yet. Nothing's being conceded yet. He's still waiting. He's waiting for these lawsuits to go through, because guess what? He only needs one of them to actually go through. And then it will be voter fraud, and Joe Biden will be disqualified for voter fraud. And therefore, the race would go back to just Donald Trump. He would be reelected again. So, it's funny whenever they're asking, what happens whenever he loses. Well, let's say, hypothetically, if Joe Biden does win, if the lawsuits come back and there is actually no voter fraud, let's just say that. Even if there's voter fraud and he still wins, let's just say that. It's whatever to me. Because whoever gets sworn in January is going to be my president. Whether I like it or not, that's going to be my president. Now, with Biden, do I agree with his policies? Absolutely not. I don't agree with any of his policies. I don't agree with the fact that he wants to get rid of fossil fuels, fracking, and a bunch of other natural resources that we have. I'm not a fan of his gun confiscation, which that's what it is. People are saying, oh, he's just buying back this, buying back that. No, it affects all people that want to lawfully carry a weapon. It's going to affect everyone, whether you know it or not. So I don't agree with his policies. I don't agree with the New Deal. I don't agree with letting people that come here illegally use all the benefits that we have. And yes, there is such thing as illegal people. When you come into this country the incorrect way, taking away from the place of the person that's done this lawfully and has been waiting, yes, it is illegal. Yes, I am a Mexican, I'm Hispanic, I'm from freaking Texas, all this stuff y'all want to say about me. But I still believe that if you're going to come to this country, you need to do it the right way. I was fortunate enough to have been born in this country. I don't have any ties with Mexico. Maybe 6 or 7 generations, my family came from there, but no, it's no one that I know. So I have no ties with that area. But going back, where did all these people go? Where did all these social justice warriors go? Where did all these celebrities that were saying, justice for people go? They're all of a sudden vanished because they feel that they've won, they got their way. And it's so sad because the people that really wanted the justice are still trying to do it. But the thing is, they lost their platform because no one cares anymore. Because, hey, we got Biden and the very first female black vice president, yada yada, even though they freaking are these crazy freaking far left-leaning liberals. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And it's funny how, this was never a problem. This was all for politics. It was never for real justice. It was just to show, hey, if you don't vote the way we want you to vote, if you don't think the way we want you to think, we're going to raise a stink until you agree with us. And that's unfortunately what happened. Everyone was screaming bloody murder, saying, oh, this is happening. Look at me, pay attention to me. And that mindset just started going. And now all of a sudden they're quiet. So what do we do in the future? Well, first, I think the thing that should have happened was the people that actually did support Trump or were on the fence should have gone out and voted. Because I feel like a lot of people didn't vote this time around, whether it was for doing the embassy ballots or the mail-in ballots or anything like that. You should have voted in person in the thousands. That way it could have been, they could have done all this fraud and shit, but it wouldn't have mattered. Like they tried doing in Florida. They tried doing fraud in Florida, but guess what? All the Trump supporters came out in waves and made it to where it was impossible for them to even cheat in the first place. So I think that's what should have happened. And that's what needs to continue to happen within our next elections, even though a lot of people do believe that the election were fraudulent, just like they did 4 years ago whenever Clinton and Trump were running. There was all of a sudden, fraud there and all this other shit that was going on. But I guess it doesn't happen now that the Democrats got their way. But if the roles were reversed, guess what? They'd be making a huge thing saying, oh, he's stealing the election. Oh, this is so unfair. We're going to riot. We're going to loot, do all this shit. But when it finally fits their narrative and they think that they get their way, they're all of a sudden silent. So it's so weird how that happens. But let me get y'all's thoughts on this. What do you think happened to these people? Do you feel like these people really were victims and they're finally being heard? Or it was more just a political way to get their way and to bitch and moan? I would like to actually hear y'all's concerns in the comments below. But that's pretty much it. Next time I do this news segment, hopefully there will be a lot more information. Of course, December 2nd would have passed. We will have heard the finalization of all the lawsuits. And hopefully I'll be able to cover what happens in December 14th whenever the Electoral College does come together and certify the votes. But until next time, make sure that you subscribe. Make sure you follow all of our listening platforms. Make sure you tune into our regular Coffee Time podcast with myself and captions. And we'll see y'all in the next video.